Hello, parents. Welcome to the Canadian Homeschool Conference, and welcome to this session called Why Your Student Hates Writing Composition and What You Can Do About It. If you're here, I expect that your student is struggling, that maybe you're seeing some emotions flare up and you're getting a little bit frustrated. You just don't know what to do about it. This is a course today specifically about grades 6 to 12, so middle school, high school. And this is something that is near and dear to my heart. So I'm so pleased to be able to be with you today. So let's just start. If you are asking, who is this person? Why should I listen to her? I want to say that you're my kind of person. I love critical thinkers, people who are asking questions like that, because you shouldn't just listen to any old person who wants to have input into your life. My name is Teresa Peters. I'm the mentor behind Discern to Learn, and I love to help students move from struggling to confident in their lives and in their writing. I come alongside students. I help them to dream big, to set goals, and to realize that writing and language arts are what is going to help them be successful in their future. Because everything comes back to language arts. And maybe you don't know that yet, but I hope you'll know it by the time that we end today. So if you would like to go right now and get the meeting notes for today, you can go to discerntolearn.com/canhomeschoolcon, CANHSCON, and you can download those in a document form that you can just edit directly right on the document, or on a PDF that you can print off and be able to type on. So I want to thank you for joining me today, for giving me the opportunity to speak into your homeschool, because it really is an honor to be here with you. Oh, the feelings, the feelings, the feelings. Maybe you are seeing this in your homeschool. Maybe you kind of dread getting out that writing curriculum. Maybe your student is angry. Maybe you've seen outbursts or tears, frustration. Maybe they have just refused sometimes or stomped off and slammed a door. I don't know, maybe my home's a lot louder than your home. I'm not really sure. But students have so many feelings when it comes to writing, and it's really no wonder. So I wish that this was in person so we could talk about what you're seeing. And I would love it if you would be able to just reach out to me and let me know what are you seeing with your student. So if you want to reach out, support@discerntolearn.com, just email me, tell me, this is what I see when my students need to write, and what am I supposed to do about that? Or why do they feel that way? Or maybe you don't have a question, you just need someone to tell. I would love to know, because I'm always collecting these ideas so that I can share them with other parents so that they know that they're not alone. Here are some words that students use when I ask them about how they're feeling, what they're thinking, when they have to write. Overwhelmed. That's always the first word they say. I think students don't exactly know what that means. It just means they have a whole bunch of feelings and they don't know what to do with them. Angry. They might get a queasy stomach, be hot and sweaty. Their heart might race. Their stomach hurts. They get a headache. These are all traditional anxiety symptoms that come in one degree or another with anxiety or panic attacks. What if I do a bad job, they wonder. One girl said, I feel like I'll fail like crazy. And they worry that they'll be embarrassed by their writing. They're embarrassed because they don't know how, and they're afraid they're going to embarrass their parents. They're worried. They're feeling irritable. And one student even said that he felt strangled when he had to write. Some students say, I might be a failure if I can't write. I don't want to let my parents down. Doesn't that just stab you in the heart? What if I just can't? I just don't know how. What do you mean you don't know how? Why are you so afraid? What is this all about? Why are students feeling all of these feelings? What feelings is your student feeling? And why might they be acting out that way, because sometimes the actions don't exactly match the feeling. So you might be seeing angry and frustrated, but really it's fear and a sore stomach or worry. Really, it comes down to integrating skills. And so today we want to talk about those skills. There are so many pieces to writing, because remember, writing is more than just writing. Writing encompasses all of these things. So some reasons that your student may be having these feelings or may be struggling is because they may have a learning difference. They may have skills gaps. They may struggle with project management. What does project management have to do with this? We're going to get to that. They might feel exposed. That's a scary place to be. And fearing failure. Don't we all fear failure? Yes, we do. So what about learning differences? And many parents are afraid to go and even consider this. But is your student exhibiting symptoms of dyslexia, anxiety, other mental health disorders? May they possibly be neurodivergent in some way? That has come to mean someone on the autism spectrum disorder. However, the word neurodivergent simply means someone who learns in a different way than we expect, a different way than what we see as normal. So even though there is no normal, maybe they're experiencing or exhibiting ADD behavior, ADHD behavior, focus issues, sensory issues. There's so many things that can cause difficulties. So there is a possibility of physical or emotional divergence. So don't be afraid to investigate that. You don't have to choose to have a diagnosis, but go ahead and investigate it. Find out and see what learning options there are available to you, and see if you can try some of those out, and do they work? Because the most important thing is that you find something that works for your student. Skills gaps. Wow. We have to take all of the elementary school learning and we have to pull it all together into one project. That's terrifying. Students are thinking, but I don't spell well enough, and I don't know how to punctuate things very well, and what if my grammar's wrong? And they also need to be able to do organization and logic, and they may not even know what they're missing in that area, but they feel inadequate. Skill gaps are normal. They're normal for your student. They're normal for my students. They're normal for me. We all have gaps. And when students discover that everyone has gaps, that is such a relief. And when they discover that they have agency, they can actually do something about that. Just because they have a gap doesn't mean they have to continue to have a gap. They can actually make a difference in their life. They can make a difference in their own success trajectory. And maybe you don't see your student looking at their education in that way, but they can learn to. And that's the beauty of language arts with success mindset. Project management. Remember, I asked, what does project management have to do with it? These are long projects, and long processes take skills. Writing an essay is something that is going to take a number of weeks, at least 2 or 3 weeks. Your student is not, no matter how much of a prodigy they are, going to sit down and write an essay in a day. And if they're doing that and they're doing that well, they're working well below their ability levels, and they need to be challenged to move forward. So these long processes take skills. They take planning, organization, self-motivation, self-discipline, and learning how to deal with setbacks. So that's a lot of pieces. And I know as an adult that many of us struggle with these same skills, and we're adults. So is it any wonder that our young people are struggling with them as well? Is it any wonder that we're struggling to teach them to our students? So these are really important skills to be able to instill into our young people. Self-exposure. So we take all these skills that we learned in elementary school and we bring them all together just as our young people are most vulnerable. This is the time in their life when they most care what their peers think. the time when they're most afraid of failure, the time when they're most unsure of themselves, their ability, who they are, and what they can do. And we ask them to say what they believe about a topic and prove it. Oh, and not only that, now we're going to evaluate your skill in how you prove it. No wonder they're afraid. Is it any wonder? I bet we can think back to when we were teenagers and we can remember the emotions that we had at that time. Those are scary years. They are not the best years of my life. I was so glad to move into my 20s when things started to settle down and I started to have more self-confidence. When students realize that this is normal and that they can deal with it and that they can do this, they develop so much confidence in every area of their life. So writing is a tool that we can use to develop their growth and maturity through their whole education, through their whole lives. Fear of failure. Who doesn't fear failure? We all do. We all are afraid that we are an imposter. We're all afraid that we can't do it. All of the Facebook groups of homeschool parents are just filled with people saying, I think I'm screwing up. What if I mess this up? What am I going to do? This isn't working. We all fear failure. We can all identify with this piece. And, oh, the feelings that we feel. We feel many of the same feelings that our students are feeling. Not only are we feeling like we are not managing things very well sometimes, we have a plan that we have trouble carrying out and following through on in that long process of project management called homeschooling. And many of us are struggling with that ourselves. And so we feel frustrated. We feel that we are failing. We feel worried and anxious and afraid. And not only that, our young people, they confront us with these feelings, these big emotions that they don't understand, that we don't understand. And our immediate response, naturally, our natural immediate response is to match it. They come angry, we match it with anger. They come crying, we match it with sadness or anger or frustration, or maybe some of you can identify with this. Pretty much all my feelings come out as anger until I dig a little bit deeper and I find out what they look like. And maybe your students like that as well. Maybe it just comes out as anger. It's not anger, that's just how it's expressed. So we have so many feelings as well. And maybe today you're feeling like you've failed. And maybe you need some hope. Well, I'm here to tell you, you can change, you can grow. I did, and you can too. We can actually make a difference in our lives. We have agency. We don't have to continue the way we are. We can change and grow through our process of learning. And by looking at our mistakes, we can grow and learn. So what do we need to do? Well, there are two ways of looking at our lives and two ways of looking at all of the things that happen. We have the door closed and we have the door open. So in a closed door mindset, it's I'm failing, I'm a failure, I'm never going to change, I can't fix this, I don't know how. And in an open door mindset, it's I have failed, I can make a change, I can improve, I can learn, I don't know how yet. Yet makes all of the difference. So we want to change our lives and our students' lives by starting to look at our difficulties in a new way. So how do we do that? We have students and they're struggling. And I can't tell you how you should do it, but this is how I do it for my students. The very first thing I do is I get them dreaming. Many students are not dreaming. They are not imagining their future. They're not imagining what success looks like. And I don't mean the dreaded, what are you going to do when you grow up question? Oh, that is so loaded. Did I know when I was 16 that I would be doing this now? No. The internet didn't even really exist when I was 16, and of course I didn't know. We can only take the next step in front of us. And when we ask students what they're going to do with their lives, that is so full of anxiety. So the question I ask instead is, what does success look like to you? Who do you know that you look up to? And what skills do they have that you want to emulate? And I don't mean they're a lawyer, they're a doctor, they're a pastor. I mean, what skills make them a good lawyer, a good doctor, a good pastor, a good father, a good mother, a good friend? What skills do they have? Skills that you don't have to wait until you're an adult to learn, skills that you can start to learn today, that you can build habits into your life to learn those skills right now. Those are the skills that are going to make you successful in everything that you do. And then we need to connect those successes and those skills with writing skills. What does writing have to do with any of this anyway? What does it have to do with success? After all, you probably didn't write an essay this week, and maybe your student is never going to write an essay once they're done school. They only need it if they go to post-secondary. I have parents approach me and say, I know that my son has to learn, or my daughter has to learn how to write essays, but they're not planning to go to post-secondary. I just want them to learn the basics so they can get the credit and we can pass and we can like say this year is done. What a loss. What a great, great loss. Because writing an essay is not about the ability to write an essay as an adult. Learning to write an essay is about learning to do a long process. Writing essay is about learning to be persuasive, to have logical arguments, to know how to argue in the correct order, to consider our audience when we're coming to discuss something with them. These are the skills that are going to allow your student to get a great job, to negotiate a pay raise, to be able to stand up for people who are being mistreated. These are the same skills that are going to allow your student to have an advancement in the career of their choice, because they're able to see a problem, find a solution, discuss with management how we can solve that problem and go with a solution, and then get their team on side to work with them to solve that problem. These are the soft skills that employers are really, really concerned about because students are not coming to them with these skills. Now, here's the most important thing, is you need buy-in. This can't be another thing that you make your student do. They have to see the value in it and buy in. And this is something that is very hard for parents to get from students. And often it's easier for someone else to get it from students, just like accountability. I'm not saying that your student needs to be left completely alone to do their own thing and to succeed or fail and learn from their experience. Although I'm a great, great advocate for learning from experience and natural consequences. However, I do not believe that they should be left without accountability. Maybe the history that you have with your student makes it very difficult for you to be the one that they're accountable to in this subject. But find someone else. Find a friend, a neighbor, someone they respect, a family member, or outsource it so that you are not the one that is holding them accountable in the area that they are most struggling with, in the area that they're most afraid of disappointing you in. So accountability is so, so important. If we choose to do something, we have about 50-50 chance of whether we're going to do it, like flip a coin. If we tell somebody else that we're going to do it, it's only 60%. So you know the people who go on social media and they say, I'm going to start working out and I'm going to work out every week. Yeah, 60% chance. If they have someone who's going to ask them at the end of the week, did you work out this week? If they have like a schedule set up that they know that they're going to meet with that person and that person's going to ask them how they did, and not just did you do it, but did you do it to the best of your ability? Are you improving? Are you pushing yourself? Guess what? 93%, I believe, is the statistic. That is the difference accountability makes. Our students need someone to be accountable to, someone who is going to let them be independent, but hold them accountable for their own actions and to help them to replan, revision, and make sure that they are succeeding. And what about when they don't succeed? Because they will have failures. We all do. We all have failures. We all have days, weeks, months, maybe years where we haven't followed through with our plan and we haven't done what needed to be done. And it's so important that students have a time of the day and perhaps of the week as well, where they can evaluate, how did I do yesterday? Okay, let's look at yesterday. Did I get all the things done yesterday I was supposed to finish? Okay, I need to move these pieces onto today. And how am I going to make that fit? How am I going to make that work? How am I going to change this week's schedule so that yesterday doesn't just slide by? I still have to do yesterday's things if I missed them. So they have to evaluate. At the end of the week, they need to evaluate, what did I win at? What can I celebrate? And what did I lose at? How am I going to change that? How am I going to improve my processes so that I can actually succeed? And this is the learning phase. And in learning phase, we also plan, because I'm going to do better next week is just wishful thinking. That's not a plan. A plan is, I know that last week I procrastinated this one thing because it makes me feel like this. And I don't want to do that. So next week, I'm going to blank. Set an alarm to go off at a certain time to do it. Make sure that I have someone ask me immediately after. I'm going to remove distractions. I'm going to, whatever it takes in order to make that thing happen. That's a plan. And that brings hope and growth, because now failure isn't the end. It's the beginning of success. So we can be hopeful for the next week because we actually have a plan. It's kind of demoralizing when week after week after week goes by and our I'm going to do better doesn't get us better. We actually need a plan to get there. And this is all about writing. So let's go back to writing. We have the writing process. And in the writing process, we have a number of steps. So the advantage of the writing process over just giving students a deadline and saying, go do this, is that they learn that every step of the way, they are not expected to be perfect. This is so freeing for students who feel that they have to always be perfect in order to be complete. So we only have to do this much. And then the next time we do this much. And each time improves on the last piece. So first we pre-write. And in the pre-writing process is the brainstorming about the topic and coming up with all the ideas that you might need and questions that you have. And then they probably will have to do some research. Now, research has a number of skills in it, and they need to know what a good source is, how to know a good source, how to recognize it. They need to know how to note sources and organize all of those things so they don't lose those details, all the details. And they need to be able to take notes in their own words so that they're not plagiarizing later. They need to be able to organize all of those pieces in a way and sort them in a way so that they can come up with a thesis. Then they need to plan an outline. This is where they take their thesis and they take all the facts and stuff that they've found and they organize them into a table or some kind of structure so that they have their first reason for their thesis. So I'm going to prove A. So the first reason A is true and all of the proofs. So every piece of evidence that they have found, whether that's in research, whether that's personal experience, whether that's just logic, all of the pieces that they want to include in their essay should be there, including the sources. So if you have a fact, your source needs to be beside it, because when you go to write, you don't want to be flipping here and there and trying to find documents and papers that are lost. It's so freeing and relaxing to have it all just right there in front of you. And by the time you've done your outline, you have it all set up so you don't even have to look at the whole thing. You just look at this piece because this is the paragraph I'm writing right now. And it will have all of these facts in it. And then everything is there for you. You don't have to struggle. Then you write the first draft. Doesn't that sound easy? The hardest part of writing the first draft is just starting. The first few sentences that I write and the first few sentences that students usually write pretty much need to be changed at the end. In fact, I assume that the first few sentences that I write, anytime I write an article or a blog or a book or anything that I do, probably those first few sentences are just going to get wiped in the end anyway, but it doesn't matter. They're like priming a pump. You have to get something on the page so that you can continue to write, and you don't have to start at the beginning. The introduction is very often one of the hardest parts to write because that's when you're trying to catch your reader's attention. So start with the paragraph that's going to be easiest for you to write, and then work from there. And you can continue through the entire outline, writing one paragraph at a time. You don't even have to write it all in the same day. Schedule it. One paragraph every day. That seems doable. That takes the pressure off. Learning how to manage the process, learning how to make it feel like you can handle it is such a big part of the writing process. Then we redraft and revise. So we look at our draft and sometimes we just strike whole sections. Oh, that's a rabbit trail. That doesn't make sense. Okay, I need to change that. I should rearrange these paragraphs. It would make more sense if I did it the other way. This is where we do like wholesale changes, big changes. And then we edit and proofread. And the edit and proofread should probably take 3 or 4 days. You should not expect to sit down and do it all at once. It's best to double space it, print it off, move to a different room, and write with a pen or pencil on paper. At very least, change the font, change the size, make it look different, see it on a different computer, go somewhere else because your brain gets used to seeing words in a certain place. It gets used to knowing what you mean, and after all, you wrote it. So it's very hard to see errors in your own writing. Another idea is to read it very, very slowly out loud. In fact, read the punctuation. Read along, period. Read along, comma, read along, period. And ask yourself every time you come to a punctuation point, should that be there? Is there a reason for that? What's the reason? It's important to read it through again and again and again, looking for one thing each time. Our brain collects things kind of like in file drawers. So we don't want to be like chasing all over our brain, like from here to here to here to here to here, trying to pull pieces from all over, because in the end, it's exhausting and we're going to miss so much. We just want to go to this one file drawer right here, and we want to like check everything in that drawer, and then we want to check over here, and then we want to check back here, and we want to keep it all organized because that is going to make it consistent and it's going to make much better editing. So those are some tips for the editing process. Now, this is a long process and it's difficult, and they've got to keep on working at it. And what it comes down to is it's about project management. So our students are going to have to make a plan. They have to know the deadline, and they're going to have to like back that up, and they're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to need like a week to edit. So I'm going to make sure I'm done by here. That'll give me lots of time to edit. And then before that, I need to do the rough draft here. And so that means I'm going to have to do the outline here, and I'm going to have to go back and I'm going to do the pre-write here so that that will give me time. Then they're going to break those up into days. And they're going to say, okay, well, the pre-write, I need to do this and this and this and this, and I'm going to put this and this and this on my schedule all the way down. They make a plan to like make sure all the pieces get done. Imagine the stress relief of knowing that you don't have to wonder if it's going to be done in time. You don't have to guess. Students sometimes just feel this pressure that they have to hurry and finish and finish and finish and finish just to make sure they get it done in time. And they don't realize they have time. They just need to know when it's going to happen so that they don't have to feel that it's not finished and it's looming over them. That they can check it off and say, yes, I am celebrating today because I did it. They can celebrate along the journey. But then they have to persist and they have to follow through on those days so they have something to celebrate. But how exciting to be able to check it off and say, I did that today, even if I didn't want to, even if I don't like it, I finished it and I did it well and it's done. Yes, I can do this. The confidence that comes from being able to follow through is huge. But what happens when things happen? When they lose focus, when they lose self-motivation and they fail, or they have a bad day, or they get sick, or someone in the family gets sick, or friends come over, or something happens, then they have to deal with failure. How are they going to deal with those emotions? Are they going to procrastinate? Are they just going to stop doing it and pretend that that is just not even there because they don't want to think about it? That's what often happens. But instead, they can learn how to take that failure, how to turn it around, how to move forward, how to just adjust the schedule so that it will all work and take the pressure off again. And then they continue to persist. And then they go back to dealing with pressure and failure. And then they persist and they go back and they deal with failure and then they persist. And eventually they succeed. And when they succeed, the confidence and joy that comes to them because they can do it is huge. So in the end, writing comes to project management comes back to discipline comes back to life success. Writing is about life success. The writing process is about learning to have a growth mindset. It's about learning that we start in one place and we slowly grow and we slowly develop and we change and we get better and better and better as we go. Mindset is so, so important to language arts. And it is going to be the key for you to help your student move forward. So the biggest reason that students struggle with academic writing is fear. And the fear stems from having gaps, struggling with personal mindset and discipline, and just feeling that they are afraid that they're not going to be able to succeed. And we can change that, parents. We can make a difference in our students' success trajectory, and we can help them to learn to write. We can help them to learn to be self-managed, self-disciplined, and ultimately bring success to every area of their schoolwork and their lives. Do you have any questions? Does this bring up any questions for you that you'd like to share with me? I would like to welcome you to head on over again to discerntolearn.com/Can Homeschool Con, and you will find a place there where you can ask questions. Go ahead, ask me some questions there. I would love to answer them. As well, you can always email me at support@discerntolearn.com. Please tell me, what are you seeing with your student? I'd love to hear from you. I am a mentor, first and foremost. I love to help people. And I'm not just a mentor for my students, I'm a mentor for everyone. So please do reach out with your questions and concerns. If you're looking for some free live training, some support for you and for your student, I have facebook.com/groups/languageartssuccess, my private group for you to join that you can go and you can find some support there. And it will all be Christian worldview, and it will be things that will encourage you to learn and grow for yourself and for your student. You can also find me on Voxer. If you have Voxer, you can leave me a voice message and you will find the ID right there. But most of all, don't forget the goodie bag. There's a swag bag. Don't miss it. It's at discerntolearn.com/CanHSCon. And I have 2 e-guides there. One is 12 weeks to writing confidence, how I do it, and you can too. And the other is 5 steps to language arts with a purpose. So this is about nurturing a Christian worldview through language arts. And so you're going to want to check out those free e-guides as well. I have a special discount just for you, so you can head on over there. I have a 4 weeks to improved writing, and it's just $40. This is a video course. I don't usually do video courses. I don't believe in video courses. I really don't. They're not my thing. But I have made this into a video course so you and your student can experience what it's like to be in one of my classes. There are 4 video classes, 4 weeks in my Google Classroom, and I'm going to give you the feedback on every single assignment. So they will go watch the video. It'll take about an hour. The video is going to teach them everything that they need to know. It's going to walk them through how to do their homework. Then they're going to do the homework and submit it on Google Classroom, and they will get feedback. Then they'll watch the next video. It'll give them the next homework. Usually they go and check the feedback and improve their writing, and then they don't hand it in again, but they copy and paste it to the next assignment, and then they take it a step further, because that's how the writing process works, right? We take it, we improve it, we move on to the next step. So 4 weeks of feedback on the assignments included in that course. So you're going to want to check that out, and you can find all of that swag at Can HSCon. So thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you for being here. And most of all, thank you for looking for ways that you can support your student the best you can.